Okay, this is a video for the BQEYZ Spring 2, which is a new in-ear monitor. It is a hybrid. It contains a piezo ceramic driver. On the right is the Fearless S8F. It's kind of a classic now. 8 balanced armatures. Both of these share one thing in common, definitely, and that is their ability to get tons of micro detail. Like the left channel beep on Michael Jackson's "Want to Be Starting Something" between a minute 27, minute 32 timestamp is available on both of these. The resolving abilities of these two are exceptional and on par with one another, and then they diverge and go in different directions after that. So let's go ahead and start with the bass. Okay, let's get into the bass. Before I do that, that ear right there is just to hold whatever I'm going to be reviewing soon or reviewing at the moment. At this point, I'm using the other stand because I'm putting 2 IEMs on it. That's not an ears rig. That's a harvested piece of an ears rig because the ears rig is garbage. Wasted money. You live and you learn. I'm using the 711 industry compliant coupler. Have been for 2 years. Ambitions as a rider, looking for stuff that they use in the studio on the deck. Bass guitar is basically a sample, a button, and a slider. All of the other low frequency events and samples are the same. Marvin Gaye, Sexual Healing, is doing the same with the low frequency events, especially at the beginning. He also does have a stand-up bass guitarist in that track. Violent Femmes, 4-string, often quite loose. That's the way that guy rolled, especially on that album that I usually sample. It's at the intro of that song. There's a great solo in that. Led Zeppelin, When the Levee Breaks, Eurythmics, Sweet Dreams. Let's go to the one visual real quick. This is John Bonham, When the Levee Breaks. There was a lot of mastering done in the studio on top of this using very new equipment. This is the basic. Note the kick drum, because this is what I'm listening for when I listen to low frequency and I use this track. Right there. That event is what I'm listening to. If you've ever heard drums, if you've ever played drums like I have, very poorly, but I did play them, and also bass guitar, I'm listening for that. Not this. I'm listening for that. Just so you know, to be very specific. Visual, audio, combine them, makes me much happier. This is an easy spot to, let me close this. This is the easiest spot to separate the two. The BQEYZ has a dynamic driver, and it gives back a more authoritative and authentic kick drum, where the Fearless S8F, for all its excellence and praise and its high ranking on my personal list, can't do that because it's doing balanced armature, and it's not even one of the better low end. The V14 by Thea Audio, Tansio Mirai has a couple sets. There's some sets where BAs can, because they do a compensation elevation, if you understand what I'm saying. Balanced armatures, if they're tuned flat, not only is that going to not sound anything like a dynamic driver, but that sense of impact is going to be taken away. So what they do sometimes with balanced armatures is sometimes give it a little lift in the low end. With BA sets, Moondrop A8 did that. I believe the S8 also did that to great effect. They simulated, to some extent, a dynamic driver's sound, the impact. I loved the A8 for a long time when I was hyping it, when not a lot of people were talking about it. And my issue with the Blessing 2, and go back to my first Blessing video, same exact. It's a dynamic driver, it doesn't act like one, and the A8 and S8 were BAs that acted more like a dynamic driver. It's very strange. But that video that I just showed you of somebody doing the intro to When the Levee Breaks sounds more authentic on this set because it's got a dynamic driver, and on the Fearless it's got BAs, and I can tell. In all of the low frequency events in these tracks, Ambitions as a Rider, Sexual Healing, Please Do Not Go, When the Levee Breaks, and Sweet Dreams, they all sound better on the BQEYZ. We're just talking about bass right now. In bass, I would take that set. The big picture is that we're going to do all the frequencies and then come to a conclusion. So I'm going to tip my hat a little bit and say, stay tuned. But in the bass, sometimes there's no substitute for a dynamic driver. And in this case, it's true. It sounds more authentic. Listening to that exact video, you can go take a look at the title, listen to your S8F or your balanced armature set, and then go listen to a reasonably good dynamic driver and tell me that you can't tell the difference. Really? we disagree totally. So I would give the bass to the BQEYZ. Okay, the mid frequencies on the BQEYZ Spring 2 and the Fearless S8F. Let me just go ahead and look at one of the graphs. The BQEYZ Spring 2 is exhibiting what is called bass bloat. Its apex is around 100 hertz, and it takes a slow ride all the way down to the beginning of the peanut gain. That is the definition of bass bloat. However, the dynamic driver is doing quite well. It graphs like that, but at no point did I think that using my library, Black Sabbath, Soundgarden, America, Pink Floyd, Fleetwood Mac, Dire Straits, Doobie Brothers, I never felt like the bass was getting in the way. Not even the slightest bit. So I don't know what a bionic driver is, but this is doing fine. I didn't look at this graph before I listened, thankfully, because that would give me kind of a slight bias. I did a video yesterday about headphones, and I've never seen even a graph about that, but I know that I like how it sounds. It's got two things wrong with it if you're looking at it. One is it's the definition in the visual sense of bass bloat. Not bleed, bloat. That's what this is. You couldn't get worse. If this was going any further out to 1.52K, it would be an absolute utter disaster. But it doesn't sound like that. The gain is 9 dB, which is not unreasonable, and the trajectory is not jarring either. That's masking something that's about to come up, and that's in the treble. So listening to vocals on Fleetwood Mac tracks, listening Blind Faith, Steve Winwood, listening to Black Sabbath, Ozzy Osbourne, who's got I wasn't picking it up, but I was picking up what was about to come, because although this is okay, not graphed perfectly, and this is okay, not ideal perfectly, what is that anyway? That's to taste. The issue was here, and it's not even this spike right here, which is not in a spot that I find to be offensive. That's the graph, and that is the mids. Vocals sounded fine. Bruce Springsteen, Boston. I listened to Boston because, and this is coming up in the treble, there's so much stuff going on up there. He's a MIT graduate and decided to chase his dream to be a rock and roll star, and he apparently achieved that dream. There's a ton of stuff going up in the upper range that is unique to the group because they were using equipment that was built by one of their members. And this is where stuff started to change. So mids on both sets sounded good for vocals. The graphing that would reflect possible interference with some of the vocals didn't occur. The BQEYZ is a good set. It wasn't having problems that the graph might indicate in my library. I'll stick to that, and anybody wants to say, oh my, please, it's been 2.5 years. Let me make another note. The use of music within videos, what is today? July 10th, 2020. Make note of it, because people are going to have to go this way. I don't know how let's say somebody's got a phone and they say, this phone takes great low light pictures. The noise is minimal, and the blacks are inky, and contrast is fantastic. And then the guy moves along. You'd be coming in the comments saying, could you maybe show a demonstration of that? Like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? Or I said to you, that PC right there, that plays games on max settings like a boss. And then I just moved along. You'd be like, what fucking games are you talking about, dude? What exactly is that card? What is the firmware that you're using? What is the CPU? Are you overclocking it? There's tons of stuff people want to know. When you're talking about gear, the music is context. So when I start to talk about what's wrong with the BQEYZ, you can maybe get it because I'm talking about the music. So let me go ahead and pause this and get into the treble. Okay, we're going to stay with Boston as we get into the treble, because there's a track on this called More Than a Feeling, and Tom Schultz, the guitarist, is doing this is the opening track, some crazy stuff. And A and B between the S8F and the BQEYZ. The BQEYZ is giving you the timbre is not different. The ability for these two things to discern multiple things going on at the same time is on par with one another. They're both quite good at that. The difference in this is the tonality. the tonality, the way that it sounds overall, its tone. It sounds kind of bright. It sounds kind of warm and dark. It sounds like it's bass elevated. It sounds kind of thin when the mids sound like they're not forward, they're not back, they're in this odd position that everything just sounds very close to being in a paper cup. That's not what's happening to either one of these sets. The BQEYZ is going wrong because it's got, for this listener, when compared with something like the S8F, it's got a tonality that's unique and kind of jarring. If you were to buy this set and it was your only set and you were a detailed junkie, I don't think that you would have a problem. If you had another set that you're very familiar with and you really love the tonality and the presentation, and then you listen to these, you might think, damn, that's unique. And I would chalk that up to the ceramic, piezoelectric, whatever it is, driver. Again, the answer to a question that nobody asked. I can understand balanced armatures because they're trying to space. They're smaller. You can pack a bunch. Look at the U18. That's 18 balanced armatures, not chi-fi like 9 equals 18 and call it 18. There's 18 BAs in the U18. That's really for musicians. It's for monitoring. It's not quite for music enjoyment, and I can just go to the video I showed of John Bonham's being imitated by somebody, and that kick drum can't be done in the same way that I can hear it myself, or even with the ARE, which is planar, can do that. I expect that. That's not negotiable. Balanced armatures don't really do that. The ceramic has why does it exist? So the BAs exist because they were trying to fit more drivers, and they were trying to separate the low range, cross it over really well, the mid range, the treble, without, you know, the bass being too slow or overwhelming the mids, or the mids got their own little section. It's like an orchestra inside there. And that's why BAs exist, pretty much. I think it's gone crazy, but that's why they do that. Why is there a driver made of ceramic piezoelectric? I don't know. It's not bad. It's got tons of detail, but when compared with more familiar things like a dynamic driver in the tweeter, like that Z1R over there, or BAs done in S8F, those sound more Okay, conclusion. Rolling Stones from the Vault live at the Tokyo Dome. Absolutely epic. Not as epic as Let It Bleed, though. Back to the earphones. Which one would I pick? Because I have the S8F, I would pick the BQEYZ. That doesn't make any sense, does it? I'm very much against the idea of everything being tuned the same and you buying very similar things. I know that you need to have like a benchmark, like this is what I really like. But if you're going to buy other IEMs and not sell that one that you like, why not try stuff that is different? So in that sense, the BQEYZ is not bad. It's tonally different. I'm looking forward to see how other people evaluate this, because its weakness is its strength. It's different, but it's not, with my library, it's not offensive. It's not borking stuff. It's not really wrong. It's just different. So I'm not going to ding it for its difference. If you can afford to play in that range without, oh shit, I don't like that, eat 30% on a loss, give it a try. If you're, this is an expensive investment for you, then proceed with caution and wait for other people to give their opinion. So I don't not rack it. That's not even a conclusion. I don't know. I prefer the S8F, but having another set that sounds just like it is, what's the point? Seriously, enjoy the music and enjoy it in different ways, and go back to your touchstone. Like the Z1R is for me right now. But I enjoyed the BQEYZ. I did. It's a good play. I think it beat out the S8F in some points, and in its timbre, its ability to pick out stuff, it's on par. There's nothing that was available on this set that I couldn't catch on this, but its playback of that was slightly different, particularly in the treble. So conclusion, wait for more reviews. Sorry to cop out on that, but I can't see what people want or what they have in their collection already. This would be something as a change of pace, switch. You're certainly not going to lose out on detail, like I can't hear shit on that, or that's all bloated out, or you know, the treble's gone, or oh no, none of that stuff's going to happen. Whether it's, you know, matching your personal taste, I couldn't. There's some stuff that, you know, like that's going to be good. I don't know about this one. I think it's pretty good. It's not strong enough to get the wreck, but it's really not misstepping. It might be a bit too much for some people in the treble, but again, why buy lots of stuff with the same tuning? Doesn't make any sense. So I'll leave you with that. I'm out. It's a good set. Gets the wreck. I'm just going to keep pushing off until I come to a clear decision. And I'm out.